Join me in welcoming Michael Maske. Hey, Michael, how you doing today?
Hey, Steve, I am doing great. It's book launch day.
Absolutely. So excited about it. The name of the
Yes.
book is The Empowered Nurse. Before we jump into talking about the book, tell us just a little bit about you and how you show up in the world.
Well, I've been working in the healthcare industry for just about 20 years. I'm a 12-year veteran of the military. I was in both the Army side as a mental health specialist and the Air Force as a crew chief on the KC-135 and served in Iraqi freedom in 2003. But past 20 years, I've been working with nurses in a variety of capabilities. I've been working with nurses on the physical environment that they work in. I have 2 patents on safe patient handling devices, but just had a real passion for in my career working with and helping nurses.
I love that. Most of us, when we think of nurses, there's like two levels of nurses, and this is totally, I'm sure, not really true, but we think of, that really trying to think of a nice word here. That really grumpy nurse that we all had that bad experience with. And then we think of that, super sweet, really wonderful nurse. And it's like the whole rest of the world of just normal people that are in nursing don't ever even come into our minds a lot of times. So, your book is called The Empowered Nurse. What is it like to be a nurse, and what kind of things do they need to help them really feel empowered in, that career that all too many of us take for granted?
Yeah, yeah. Well, my co-author Alicia Shields, she is a nurse by trade. I'm actually not a nurse by trade, so I've actually worked alongside nurses, kind of in the going almost into battle and literally walking alongside these nurses and seeing what they do. In this book, The Empowered Nurse, is so much about it is an honor and reverence for the nursing profession. So if you're a nurse, I would encourage you to buy the book because it will be truly, it's like, wow, these 2 individuals who created this book have an honor and reverence and have an understanding for how difficult my job is. Because, in your question, Steve, you brought up that there are some nurses who are a little on the grumpy side, and then there are some that are just show up as angels, and they're this like beacon of light. Because for many of us, because you and me, we may end up in a hospital at one point, having the very worst day of our life, the worst news. And do you want the grumpy nurse walking alongside of you, or do you want that angel, that beacon of light walking alongside of you? And what we know, and this is what the book really highlights, is how stressful the nursing profession is. And we look at these 5 different levels. We look at the physical stressors, the mental stressors of how challenging and complex and how much knowledge and education and training is required to do this job. We look at the emotional stressors. Like I said, that could be one of the worst days of our life, where we get the worst news of our life about ourselves or a loved one, someone we care about, a parent, a child. And then there's all these communication, social stressors that nurses experience. And then the spiritual stressors. They are there to provide comfort and compassion and love and prayer, and to walk alongside of us through some of the most difficult things. And the book really explains all of these stressors that nurses have to combat and come up against in their profession. So one, it shows how hard this profession really is. And two, it's like, okay, we get, like, you are going into a hospital to work, and it's almost like you're having to work in a hurricane. But how do you as a nurse show up into that role to be happy, healthy, and balanced, and find that within you, because it's really a difficult profession. And then so we take these nurses through some strategies and things that they can do to help find that spot where, more often than not, we're showing up as this beacon of light, this angel, right? Versus the grumpy side. Because it can happen to any of us when we get beat up in our professions. But like I said, the unique part is healthcare is really, really, really stressful. And it got even worse in the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody that was working anywhere in the medical profession during COVID that still is deserves some kind of award and probably some kind of cash prize. You know what I mean?
That's a great. Every nurse listening to this would probably like, yeah, Steve, because that was a whole lot for these nurses to suffer through, which was going through the pandemic. I mean, they were on the front page of the news every day. They were in the crossfires of things on social media, and they were at the heart of conspiracy theories. Like, you name it, these nurses have, and this manuscript, it's 2024. This book and this manuscript really found its birthplace, and majority of it was written prior to 2020 in the pandemic. And it was so it's really an honor to bring this wonderful manuscript and all of that this is to these nurses and nursing professionals, especially after what they've gone through in the pandemic from a lot level of stress, because it was certainly stressful before. It just got amplified.
Well, I think going back to what I said initially, um, and nurses, cashiers, people like that that still showed up at work during COVID. You know, when all the rest of us were just locked in, and then every time we needed something for ourselves is the only time we ever left the house. You know, um, I learned so much during that time about how empowering and powerful it can be to just simply even just be grateful to that person. And a lot of times, and I can only imagine how much even worse it is for nurses than say a cashier, because whereas the cashier, you may not necessarily be having a bad day, very rarely are you dealing with a nurse during like a good day. You know, I mean, maybe in your annual checkup or something, you're having an okay day, but for the most part, you're like, I'm sick and I need help right now. And why do you got to take my blood pressure again?
Yep. Yep. And I will tell you, patients and people get really grumpy when they're in the hospital. There's two, I think there's two times that people are at their worst: when they're sick and when they're hungry. Those two, right? When are we at when are we at our worst? Sick, hungry. So, and it's just, and the worst of the worst that we show up as, I think, and that's the hard part for a nurse, is they're seeing so many people at their absolute worst. They're not at their best when they're in the hospital, and they may have been given news of they have cancer, a loved one has cancer. These are massive, life-changing things to deal with. And who's walking alongside of us? The nursing professional. Like, they are the ones that are in the room. They are the ones that are there, right there with the family. And I can, for me, this is one of the greatest professions that's out there in this world. And how do we give these nursing professionals the tools, the support, so that they can take care of themselves? Because oftentimes, and we know this about the nursing professionals, and if you're a nurse watching this, you go, hey, are you great at taking care of everybody else? Yes, I am. How great are you at taking care of yourself? Ooh, okay. That's a very, very, it's, I would say for me, it's on the rare occasion where I meet a nursing professional who's super great at taking care of him or herself versus taking care of everybody else, their family, their friends. They go to work and they take care of everyone else, and then they just forget about themselves. And what we're saying, and ultimately in this manuscript, is this is for you as the nurse and the nursing professional. This is an opportunity for you to go, hey, wow, this is an amazing profession that we are involved in, and I'm so grateful that someone has recognized it and articulated it so well in this manuscript, and then also kind of given me a pathway for how do I take care of me in all of this, so that I can continue giving to other people.
That makes absolute total sense. It almost feels like we need to have Hug a Nurse Day now too. So we need a thank you day, a big cash check, and a hug a nurse day.
Hugs and cash, Steve, right?
Yeah,
That's what we want for our nurses.
absolutely, we do. So, and I mean, of course, a person has to get the book to learn everything, but give us one little tidbit of something that a person can do to help empower themselves if they're in the nursing profession.
Uh, one of the ones that I always love the most, and so when I've gone out and done speaking engagements, one of the things I'll ask, if there's 100 nurses in the room, I'll say, who here has ever tried or done meditation before? And oftentimes about 50% of the hands actually go up that they've even tried it. And meditation is one of those really beautiful things. It's really simple. You can go on YouTube and you can find about 1 million different ways to actually do it. But it's like exercise. We actually have to do it. So in those speeches, I will take these nurses through a 15, 20-minute meditation where they get to experience that for themselves. And so no matter what I do, I really look at sort of meditation as one of those foundational pieces of it can help with anxiety. It can help with depression, where we have all of these running, racing thoughts. It can help with those. It can do so much for us. And it's free. It's not addictive. There's no side effects. I mean, hey, Steve, red wine works, right? But it's got some side effects.
All right.
So but that is one of the tools that I will oftentimes recognize is that this is something that's very simple that you can do. It can do it immediately. You can get started right now, and it can begin to make some impacts for you.
I totally love that. And of course, a person, anybody, nursing profession, you've got somebody that's in the nursing profession in your life, or you just want to know how to treat your nurse better next time you're in the hospital or at the doctor's office, you can get the book today for free. I'm going to put the link into the comments in case you missed it up in the description. Before I let you go, though, Michael, give us some words of encouragement. I know there's some nurses that have got to be feeling discouraged out there today. Give them some words of encouragement about how amazing they are and all the stuff they do in the world is.
Okay. Well, if you're a nurse and you're watching this, one, what you do is so hard. But I want you to know that there's many of us that see it and see all that you offer and that you contribute to what we call our healthcare system. And you're just caught in the crosshairs and of what is, like I said, when you read this manuscript, and there's a lot of academic citations we use of how stressful your profession is in every one of these areas. So sometimes it's just to read it and go, wow, these individuals that created this manuscript really understand how difficult what we do is. And wow, here's some really practical things that I can do to take care of me. And it's not a selfish take care of me. It's a when I take care of me, I can continue to serve and take care of others on a bigger, better, higher level. And so, for any of our nursing professional friends, that's why we're pushing this out there for a very limited time, that you can get this manuscript and you can read it for free. And that way it's our gift to you, because you've given so much to so many people in so many areas as you've just going to work to do your job to be the best nurse that you can be on any particular shift.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for writing the book. I encourage everybody that's listening, get the book. I mean, even if you get it to give to a nurse or you just give it to help support the word being able to reach out to more nurses. Thanks so much for being a guest with us here on the show today.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you.